Hi, this is Melissa with TrendyTrinkets.net. Today, I'm going to teach you how to make some beautiful ribbon rosette wire wrap rings. So here's what you're going to need to complete this
You're going
project.
to need wire cutters, a ring sizer, needle nose pliers or a wire wrap tool, plus your sterling silver wrapping wire. You need a washer and a bead and a pair of scissors. First, you're going to take, of course, your ribbon. Choose the color that you like. See, like this one here, I made it in green organza ribbon. And that would actually make a really nice ring. Okay, so make sure that you choose something that you're going to wear, maybe something that would definitely suit most of your outfits. Then you're going to take your washer and make sure that the bead that you choose for the center doesn't fall through the hole in the middle of the washer. You need something that's going to stay put and it's not going to go through. Okay, now you're going to take your ribbon, you're going to fold it in half, and you're going to fish it through the center hole of the washer. Now when you glue it down, you're going to glue it down on the back side. And when we start wrapping, we're going to wrap on the front side. So just go ahead and put a little dab of glue, and be careful since that glue is really hot, and you're just going to glue down that piece that you fished through to the back. Hold it down just for a couple of seconds to make sure that it's nice and stuck together. And then you're going to flip it over and you're going to start the wrapping process. Just go ahead and take the ribbon and twist it between your fingers to make sure that it's nice and tightly wrapped as you make circles around that center hole of the washer. Now the first dab of glue that you're going to put on, you need to make sure that that is mostly dry before you continue the wrapping process. And you also have to make sure that it's going to curve perfectly around that center ring. This is going to determine the overall look and feel of that ring. So if you don't start wrapping it correctly from the get-go, all you're going to have is just a mishmash of fabric. So you start to wrap it around, and about every ½ an inch, you're going to go ahead and put a little dab of glue. You're going to continue to spin it between your fingers and apply it on. Do you see how it's already starting to form a little bit of a curvature? Now you can always wrap it a little tighter than what I'm currently doing. I'm giving it just a little bit of slack because I actually want it to look like it's raised. I want it to look almost like a rose, like an actual rose. If you like the tighter look, you can certainly wrap it much tighter all the way around and make sure that there is no give. It'll look almost like a rope as you're tying it around. So it all depends on what you want it to look like. But this one in particular, I want to make sure that it does have a little fluff to it and it's a softer look rather than that nice, tight, hard look. Okay, if you've noticed, I've gone ahead and I've gone one complete round all the way around. This particular one, this is a fairly small washer. So I'm only going to wrap it 2 more times around. And you'll notice as I get closer to the edge, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to overlap the edge of the washer so it's not seen. So just continue to wrap around and just continue to apply the glue. Of course, be very careful since this glue gun gets extremely hot. And if you notice that there's always going to be like a couple of little of those web looking pieces that are going to come off of that glue. That's just the nature of the way that glue works, but we'll go ahead and we'll fix that just in a minute. Okay, now I'm getting to the outer edge. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I put that glue to where it touches not just the outer edge of the washer, but I also want to make sure that it's touching the fabric as well, because as I wrap it, I'm actually going to be attaching it to both the edge of the washer and to the fabric. Notice how I'm placing it on. I'm touching the washer and I'm touching the fabric. This is going to give it that finished look that you're going to want at the end, so that way you don't see the edges of the washer below it. All you see is just that really pretty fabric rosette. Okay, if you notice, we're almost done. I just have a little portion of it coming up, and if you notice, there's also some fraying around the edges of this particular ribbon that I'm using, which is taffeta. We're going to go ahead and take care of all of that fringing of that taffeta. It tends to kind of fray at the ends, but we are actually going to be using a torch or a lighter later on. Now, if you notice, you see how it's coming up over the edge of the washer? That's what you want it to look like from the bottom. You don't want to see that silver portion of the washer coming through to the top, because then it's going to look very unfinished. Okay, I'm going to apply the last little bits of glue. Make sure it's nice and tacked down. Now, if you notice, I really don't have too much of washer left exposed. So you just want to make sure that you cover all of just the area that's exposed with the washer. Okay, you see how nicely that's being finished, and it looks complete at this point. So that's about as much as I'm going to do. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the last little bit of this ribbon off. I'm going to use just a tiny dab of glue to secure that down on the back end. I'm going to twist it as much as I possibly can without actually pulling it apart. And then I'll show you how you're going to seal this after all of that glue is dry, just in a few moments, with a torch lighter, or you can use a standard lighter. I'll show you exactly how that works. Put that last little bit of glue, twist it and hold it down. Make sure you just hold it there for a few seconds just to make sure that it adheres. Okay, all right. Now you see the rosette is complete, and you see how nice and pretty that looks. We're actually going to make it look a lot nicer now. Notice on the bottom you have that little piece that's just hanging off the end. We're going to take care of all that fraying now. And then the little piece on the bottom, you're just going to end up cutting anyways off of the edge, so that way you don't actually see it. And we're just going to seal that as well with the, let me just cut that. Okay, we're actually going to seal that with that torch lighter. Okay, notice how the edges still have a little bit of fraying, so just make sure that you cut any little tiny frays off that you can get to. All of the other stuff that's in the center, we're just going to go ahead and clean up with our fingers. We're going to pull off any excess glue. We don't want to leave it dirty. Of course, the glue is going to remelt when we apply it, apply the heat of the torch to it. But there you have it. It looks really pretty. There's the bottom of it. It's nice and finished right on the top. It looks like a rose. That's the whole point. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and make sure that the bead fits in. And we're going to go ahead and clean this up. Let me go grab the torch. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab this torch lighter. It's a propane torch lighter, this one. I'm sorry, a butane torch lighter. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and very carefully just sear the edges of the ribbon that is fraying. We're going to make sure that all of the edges towards the bottom are nice and seared together. and it's going to actually seal it. It's going to give it an old antique-ish look as well, just simply because this is taffeta, and taffeta tends to burn real fast. So you don't want to hold the torch too close to it, because if not, you're just going to get burned fabric. But there you have it. I mean,